I'm gonna say it, and I don't care who hates me for it. You could go take it up with Jesus, not me. The issue with gentrification in the Caribbean has nothing to do with these people coming in and just building houses and building new villas and hotels and restaurants and taking over black jobs. It's the fact that we have crab in a barrel mindset that is keeping these people here. And I am all for exports and imports of outsiders coming in and being able to make a living. But when it's at the expense of my own people, where they can't even buy an apartment or a car or food to eat, now we have an issue. And the issue with the Caribbean specifically is the fact that we have so much crab in a barrel mindset that we would rather let an overseer, right, like a massa, not even an outsider, an overseer come in, be able to dangle a dollar bill in front of your face and you sell out your people. And also keep in mind that we are the first group of people to free ourselves, and yet here we are entangling ourselves back in the same chain cycle, a systematic cycle of being crabs in a barrel. This time it's not one group over the other, it's us against us. Like, I'll take for example creativity in the Virgin Islands, right? There's so many creative talents here, but it's keep being held down and oppressed because of popularity and people only wanting certain people to have the spotlight and the limelight, instead of branching out new ideas, new versions of creativity, things that make us unique and putting it to the forefront. We only want to keep doing this like a broken clock. And it's not just in the Virgin Islands, like you see it across the Caribbean, that it's keep happening in different areas and different industries. That's why it's so polluted. And then when gentrification starts to happen, everyone is wondering, but how this happened? How we let this get this bad? We let it get this bad because when you saw one person open up a business that look like you get vexed and you shut it down, or you find different ways to shut it down. And then the next person who doesn't look like you come and put it up, you let them, because it's like, oh, okay, whatever. They probably know what they're doing more than the person that look like you. And that's where the crab in a barrel mindset cripples. Also, on the topic of crab in a barrel, I think people just think like it's just people holding on people in itself, but it's also the people who are on the outside holding on people. The people who have made it and not helping. That's also crab in a barrel. The people who live abroad and judge the situation from the people who live here and think, well, you should just leave. That's also crab in a barrel mindset. Like, any opinions of not helping your society, whether you live here or not, is a crippling mindset. You cannot help society if you leave. But it's my opinions, and like I said, take it up with Jesus if you don't like.
How do you define a term gentrification? This is the wealthier people moving into the poorer or lower income, causing big changes, both good and bad. Now, let me speak about this term whereby Americans are moving to these small countries like Thailand. Thailand is a big country though. Namibia, Costa Rica, South Africa, Kenya. Many countries that are maybe they're having a low currency compared to their dollar.
I did not move to Brooklyn 13 years ago. 11 years ago to be surrounded by white people. And 11 years ago, I was not surrounded by white people. But now, unfortunately, no matter where I fucking go, and I think it's important to know, I do not frequent the white Brooklyn. I don't frequent Bushwick and Williamsburg. Never did, okay? That's not my Brooklyn. I moved to Bed-Stuy first, used to babysit in Clinton Hill, then used to babysit in Park Slope. I have lived in multiple areas of Bed-Stuy, East New York. I've just lived all over, okay, in Brooklyn, except not Bushwick, Williamsburg, Coney Island, Canarsie, you know? So I'm just saying, this is just too many. Like, I was just on the B41, and I did not leave bumfuck Maryland, where I was forced to be the only black AP honors fucking student ever. Every time I went to a new school, all up in and around Anne Arundel County, being the only black girl in class. You know, I moved to New York so that I could be surrounded by my people. And now, Brooklyn has changed so much. These are not my fucking people. I'm so sick of this shit. Can't they go to like Ohio or something? Idaho, North Dakota? Look at how many other states there are for white people. Like, you know, find another fucking place, bro. There's a whole term for what they do. Gentrification. Like, that's what's so crazy.
rich people move to Puerto Rico, pay less taxes, and live on the beach.
There are a lot of videos like this and I don't usually respond, but this is a big creator with a very large audience. So I want to provide the context that was missing from her video. I want to show you the other side, what local communities say this influx of wealthy people is doing to them. Some Puerto Ricans have been getting letters like this, where an investor buys their whole building and tells them they have to move out because he wants to do something more profitable with the building. I know this because I've interviewed them. This is a woman in her 70s who was hoping to spend the rest of her days in the apartment she was living in her town, but she had to move out after an investor bought the building, and then she had a hard time finding a place she could afford. And it's just that some Puerto Ricans cannot compete with the money coming in. In this article from the New York Times, they interviewed a man who owns his house. He was mowing the lawn in front of his house, and he pretended to be a gardener when investors came up to him because he gets harassed so much to sell his house. He says they give him a blank check and tell him to write whatever he wants on it. And when I make these videos, some of you tell me this is happening everywhere. But imagine that on top of that, in your state, a law passed that gave a tax break only to people moving in. That didn't apply to you who was born there and has been living there. So on top of the uneven playing field that already exists, because in Puerto Rico, wages are much lower than in a lot of the states, on top of that, the people moving in have a tax break that locals don't. I have 2 videos about this if you want to learn more, and the idea is not that you walk away opposing these tax breaks. For these videos, I talk to people who support and defend.
Most people have no idea that the United States and Israel have already perpetrated a genocide of over 150,000 indigenous people in Guatemala. There's a reason why these governments act like the current genocide is just business as usual, because for them, it is, and it is a business. The United Fruit Company, now known as Chiquita Banana, owned 40% of the land in Guatemala, and their monopoly let them brutally exploit their farm workers. It wasn't a US colony, guys, just all the land was owned by a US company. So Guatemala naturally elected a president who would take their country back from this foreign company. He started redistributing the land back to their mostly indigenous farmers who actually worked it, but the US called it communism and backed a coup to overthrow him. I mean, it definitely wasn't capitalism, but the coup led to a bloody civil war between the US-backed right-wing military dictatorship, nothing new there, and the left-wing rebels. The Guatemalan military began accusing the indigenous people in the countryside of aiding the rebel and by 1980, the massacres and executions became all too common. Guatemalans and foreign volunteers are still excavating the mass graves and identifying victims to this day. The Guatemalan army destroyed over 600 Maya villages, slaughtering the villagers, including women and children, and they targeted political opponents for execution. Over 200,000 people were killed in the war in total, most of them Maya and other indigenous people. And it's estimated that 1.5 million people were displaced because of the war. The United States secretly had over 1,000 CIA and Green Beret personnel on the ground in Guatemala, helping to train the army that did all this. The CIA helped them gather intelligence used to target their victims, and so did Israel. Israel even helped the military develop a computer system that tracked electric and water usage to pinpoint rebel safe houses. The US supplied the regime with plenty of weapons until laws and Congress started getting in the way. And when that happened, they turned to their friends in Israel for the weapons. To no one's surprise, the worst years of this genocide happened under Reagan's presidency. Reagan is literally the devil. He called the genocide Guatemalan dictator, quote, a man of great personal integrity. Reagan went around the weapons embargo by reclassifying the aid as non-military support, but the jeeps and helicopters he sent were instrumental for the army to navigate the highlands where the indigenous people lived. In documents uncovered, the US described the indigenous people as civilian support mechanisms in order to dehumanize them and justify their genocide. This is why they don't teach us history. A UN-backed commission officially found that the Guatemalan government committed genocide against the Maya people.
African Americans coming to Panama are gentrifying Panama, and this is how it's happening and how you can stop. There's 2 ways that I see it happening. One is in the restaurant sector, where here 10% is a normal tip because it's so much more expensive in the United States to eat, and the tip is expected to be almost double. We come down here and we're tipping much more. So what happens is it prices the locals out. It's the same thing that happened in the States, where it used to be 10%, then it went to 15%, now it's at 18 to 20%, it's gonna happen here. And so what happens is people in the United States don't wanna go out to eat, They're complaining about how much tips have risen, and it has outpriced a lot of working class people. We're bringing that to Panama. You have to stop. The second thing is hair. So getting our hair done in the States is crazy expensive. Getting your hair done here is very economical. So we're coming here, and because they're charging a fraction of what it costs in the States, we're not tipping 10%. We're tipping double. We're tipping 100% because it's still cheaper than in the United States. And then the salons raise their price, and it's pricing out the local Panamanians. I talked about this in a different video. It used to be $35 for little kids to get their natural hair braided. Now they've changed it to $70 is the minimum. Depending on the design and what you want, it can go up to $100. So for us Americans, that's not bad because we pay that in the States or a little bit more. But here, it's pricing out the locals. I had been warned when I got here to be mindful and not to mess up their economy. So all I'm saying is, if you're here, if you're thinking about coming here, be mindful and don't mess up their economy, because you don't want to raise the prices so much that the locals can't do things like get their hair done, because Americans have come in and set the standard to double and triple the price of things that they got. You don't want to be or do the things that were done to us to them. So be mindful. Tipping at restaurants and getting your hair done in any other place, 10% is what's expected. And, you know, don't push the people out of their places. Just don't. It's not cool.
Now, there's a new kind of migration sweeping the world. Not refugees, but Americans. They are leaving their homeland in search of peace, a cheaper living, and freedom. You will find them in Mexico, Kenya, Thailand, Costa Rica, and South Africa. Now, whenever they go, things begin to change, either positively or negatively. When Americans arrive with the strong dollars and remote jobs, local economies bend, rents rise overnight, markets that once served the local now cater to the foreigners. And simple communities become playgrounds for digital nomads. Because somebody from America come to Kenya or South Africa or even Namibia, you know, our currency is a little compared to their currency, because dollar has a value as a currency of the US. Now, they change our area, they change our livelihood. They make us have either hard time or make things easier for other people. They make things hard for people who don't have enough money, but they make things better for the restaurants, the apartment that they go there and buy or pay the rent, higher price. But someone who has been living there paying an affordable life can never afford the life anymore, because people are nowadays, they are in business, so they base working with the whites. Restaurant, they now begin serving the people who are white, because maybe a waiter maybe expecting maybe a tip from that one person, maybe a white person. It's called global gentrification, the quiet takeover of entire cities by wealth from abroad. Now, in Mexico, locals are being priced out their own neighborhood. In Kenya, coastal towns, property once owned by families for generations, now sells for foreign profit. In Thailand, small village turned into a tourist hub. And in South Africa, communities watch as land and housing costs skyrocket beyond riches. And now, everywhere the dollar lands, life gets harder for the local and easier for the outsiders. Also, some call it opportunity, others call it exploitation, because behind every beautiful Instagram photo is a local who can no longer afford to live there. It's not just a travel anymore, it is a transformation, a slow, silent reshaping of the global south by the economic power of the West. You know, whenever somebody has an apartment and he wants to sell to somebody, you know, even the apartment maybe have been given to him through somebody, but now because there's a profit from the foreign person, they give it on a higher price for them to live their own life separately. But somebody who is living there, a local person, will have to be maybe replaced to some other area. So this whole thing is making people who are living the local life not to afford their own livelihood, because they have to shift and move to an affordable area, maybe to shift from the area to go and live somewhere else. And this is making the people of that area suffer. But people who are there who want maybe to invest or get some money from them, they are feeling okay because they are making profit from them. This is Global Tales, reminding you gentrification is no longer stops at the city borders, and the world is quiet, changing one American at a time. More than peace be with you.